Well, hey, friends, welcome back to another amazing and exciting episode of Ask Billy. So today's question comes from the internet, aka my email. So if you'd like to ask me a question, please just shoot me an email, billy@billylaguardia.com. So today's question goes something like this. Hey, Billy, how do you ask musicians to change their sound if it's not working or causing issues? When do you say something versus just dealing with bad sound? Ugh, that's the $1,000,000 question. Um, well, you do it with a great deal of tact. Um, I would say tact and empathy are going to be your two best ways to deal with this. Um, Man, this is actually a very tough question. I should have probably thought more about my response before I shot this video, but hey, this is live and off the cuff, right? Um, Okay, it depends on the caliber of musician that you're dealing with. The more professional of the musician, I'm sure that they will take direction a lot better. If you're dealing with weekend warrior type people, they are probably going to fight you a little bit more. I hate to be so blunt about it, but that's generally the truth of it. It also depends on how much trust you have with the band. So I will say my first part of the response of this is your job as a sound engineer is to gain the trust of the band as soon as you possibly can. If you work with the same band all the time, they trust you, you trust them, it's not an issue. This only becomes an issue when you're working with new people or you're working with people that are maybe not as experienced. So, the easiest way to do it is very quietly and very tactfully. You don't really want to get on the God mic and say, "Hey, man, your tone's not working for me." That causes a lot of problems. The other thing is you have to understand that a lot of people have a lot of predetermined biasy as to why their sound is the way it is. For example, I'm a drummer as well as an audio engineer. I have a great deal of experience with setting up my own drums and other people's drums in a studio. Um, Drums are a very interesting instrument. I would say that a great majority of drummers do not know how to tune their drums. And what sounds good in the ambient world may not sound good under a microphone, which is a point that I try to make as often as I can. Close mics on drums, as an example, don't sound very good. You have to, beat them up a little bit because that's just not a natural way of listening to your drum. Although a drum may sound very good, by itself. It may not sound good under a microphone. It also may not sound good in the context of a mix. So, my very long winded point about biasy. Um, Chances are somebody has said something to a musician along the way that makes them think or feel or believe something that they do. That may be a good thing, it may be a bad thing. An example of that would be if George Martin or pick a super famous engineer or producer. If you watch some documentary, George Martin says, "We did the Beatles record like this," or Chris Lord-Alge or somebody. We use this. I take an 1176 and slam every vocal with it. That may work for them on that particular session, but it may not work all the time. There are very few things that are set it and forget it. So you have to deal with that. So, oftentimes a counterpuntal argument to will you adjust your tone may come from, well, I watched this Beatles documentary and this is what George Martin did. It's like, okay, but, that may not be applicable to this bar that you're playing in. See where I'm going with this? Um, so again, it's just tactful thing, and then you have to know when to back off. I think that's really when it is. You win the war, not the battle. If you win the battle and give all of the factoids and reasons why, um, that may not go over well, despite it being truth. Audio engineers are engineers, right? Engineers, mechanical or chemical or civil. I mean, we are an abrasive bunch. Maybe a little bit too much truth with a little less tact. One of my friend's dad is an electrical engineer, and he said, "Well, what's wrong with the Socratic method with everything?" So sometimes the hard truth may just be too much, especially when you're dealing with musicians that are fragile. So you have to pick your battle. If you can EQ your way out of the problem, then Generally speaking, I won't say anything unless I have tried everything, because again, you don't want to take somebody off of their comfort level. So is if they've rehearsed with a specific tone, um, if they're used to a specific tone, as soon as you throw them off, you lost them, and you will forever try to get that person back for the rest of the gig. And if they have a bad gig, you can see where this can all snowball. The other thing you're dealing with are people are nervous. Um, if you've had a bad monitor experience with other engineers, generally speaking, you see this with singers a lot. They The first thing that they ask for is more of them and their monitor. So you're fighting with those kinds of biases of past experiences. So it's your job as an engineer to gain people's trust as quickly as you can and show them that you really know what you're doing, and that you have their best interests. So that is a very long-winded way of dealing with that. As you get to know people, as people get to know you, they know what you can and can't do in terms of the laws of physics. The trust aspect of things just gets a little bit easier for you to have those conversations. But I always say a sound engineer is a psychologist. You really are. Either psychologist or psychiatrist. I really don't know the difference between the two. You're always dealing with the person's personality. You're dealing with multiple personalities on multiple people for every single gig. An event manager, a planner, a director, a venue manager, the person that booked the band themselves. So, you're kind of the catch-all person to yell at if something isn't going right. So the best advice that I can give you is I smile through every problem. That's just my own personal way of dealing with it. If you go to anybody and they're like, I can't hear the singer, it's like, okay, I'll work on it. That's the best way that you can go about this. If you get defensive, other people get defensive. So my way is always the brand that I try to preach is Billy's very nice, he's very knowledgeable, and if you just let him go, you know he knows the problems and will fix it. So again, sorry for the long-winded tangent, but yeah, smile through it. Smile through it and deal with as much as you possibly can. If you start nitpicking everything, you're just gonna ruin the vibe, and no one's gonna give you what you want. So that's my advice. Be very nice. Be as nice as you possibly can. And if it does come down to actually having a suggestion, make your suggestion in private. Sometimes it's not always, that breaks the golden rule. If you sound check one way, don't mess anything after it. But, if it's a problem, maybe once people get off stage, you can pull, say the guitar player aside and say, hey, can you just turn the high end on your amp down? And some people will say no. And then it's just your job to amplify. A common misconception is, engineers are magicians, right? What do you have to work with in your toolkit? You have a compressor, you have an equalizer, and you have effects of some variety, right? You can't solve all problems with those things. You have to do the best you can with what you got. And at the end of the day, out of any of the secret sauce that you can put on stuff, your job is just to amplify. So output equals input always. So just be nice. Sometimes you're gonna have a band that just doesn't sound very good. The best thing that you can do is smile and take notes and think about how you can fix it for the next gig, and get through that gig and get your paycheck and go home and try not to beat yourself up. I beat myself up after pretty much every gig. I record every show and do game films, and it's like, I wish I could have done that different. I wish I could have done that different. At the end of the day, your job is there to amplify, and as long as everything is amplified and balanced, you're probably doing okay. But sorry, went off on the tangent a little bit. Hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, drop a comment below. And if you would like to ask me any type of question that we can do into this communal back and forth thing between you, me, and the YouTube comment section, just shoot me an email, billy@billylaguardia.com. Thanks so much. See ya.